Coming to you live from the corner of Mississippi and Fate, Texas, comes the hashtag Brothers of Baseball.
I love baseball.
Donny and Willie Epting.
I see you two all the time. Thick as thieves you are.
Baseball fans, welcome to the Brothers of Baseball from In the Zone Sports here on the Big Game Christian Sports Network. I am the Captain Donny Epting. Got my big brother Willie Epting on. Willie, say hello to the people, man.
Hello, people. What's going on, brother?
Okay.
That's what you said, man.
You take direction very well.
Yes.
And let's give a little more direction to our listening audience, as we would like to remind everyone that the Brothers of Baseball is here on the official broadcast station of the Dallas Charge Pro Fast Pitch Softball on the Big Game Christian Sports Network. And this edition of the Brothers of Baseball is being brought to you by PureFlix. Enjoy faith and family movies, TV shows, and educational programs anytime, anywhere for only $7.99 per month. Sign up for your 30-day free trial by going to bgcsports.net or on the BGC Sports app and click on the PureFlix banner to start your free trial today. All right, so we get some of the housekeeping and house cleanup there behind us. And Willie, it's been an interesting week in Major League Baseball and an interesting into the calendar week or the work week, as we have a big topic that we're going to discuss to start us off. Man, are you ready to do this?
Man, you already know what it is.
All right. Play ball.
That's right.
Hashtag setting the table. Big story broke late Thursday night or early Friday morning, depending on where you are and how late or how early you were awake and sleep. Thursday night, following the Miami Marlins win at the Los Angeles Dodgers for the Marlins to complete a 4-game sweep at Chavez Ravine, we found out that the reigning National League batting champion, second baseman Dee Gordon, has been hit with an 80-game suspension due to violation of the performance-enhancing drug policy. 80 games. This man is going to miss a big chunk of the season. And biggest ramification for Miami, if they somehow make the postseason, Dee Gordon won't be there. We'll get into more of the updated drug policy here in just a moment. But let's get Big Bro back in here. Willie, your first thoughts on Mr. Gordon's 80-game ban?
Well, it's definitely going to help. I'm sorry, it's definitely going to hurt the Marlins. I mean, they're right there, even though it is early in the season, in the chase for one of the wild card slots for the National League. You know, you forgot to mention that he's going to be hit with an 80-game suspension, but you failed to mention that he don't get paid.
Oh, well, I didn't mention, but yeah, you know, I kind of, and my bad, folks, that's kind of me thinking it's understood since he ain't playing. But no,
yeah,
you're exactly right, Willie. You got it right, man.
Yeah, he doesn't get paid, and I just kind of threw that in because it's 80 games, and he just signed a multi-year or a big contract after having a very, very good year last year, in which he did take away the National League batting championship. He also led the National League in stolen bases. The first player to do that, when I say that, I mean lead the National League or lead a league in stolen bases and batting average. The first person, or actually only the second person ever to do that. Do you know who the other person was, Mr. Donny?
Mr. Willie, I do not. Why don't you tell the people for us?
42.
Man. Whew. That right, man.
And that says a lot when you are put in the company of a man who can be just simply known by his number.
Right. Or just one word, one name.
Jackie.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, he actually, man, was off to a slow start this season. He was only hitting .266, 6 stolen bases. He's already struck out 17 times. He been caught stealing twice, but now he's been caught with his hands in the cookie jar.
Yeah. Cookie jar, loosely used in quotations.
Yeah, air quotes, that is.
Right. Yeah, here's a statement from Marlins president David Sampson. Dee Gordon is a very important part of our team, and we all love him and we support him. That said, I do not like or condone what he did. He's an important member of this organization and will be for many years to come. It's a huge, huge disappointment to the kids, to our fans, to his teammates, and to everyone in our organization who works hard every single day to put a product on the field and off the field that all Miamians will be proud of. My first thoughts on it, man, were, I'm not an athlete. I might have a little bit of the Epting athletic gene in me. But yeah, I don't play professional sports. I talk about it. But having said that, it's very hard to be a player in Major League Baseball. And it's even harder to be a constant productive player in Major League Baseball. Dee Gordon, you had no business taking the substance, whatever it is. I mean, look, the sport supplies you guys a list of the banned substances. In this case, exogenous testosterone and clusterball. In Dee Gordon's case, come on. They give you a list of the things that you can and can't take. Why not abide by that?
Don't put stuff in your body that you can't pronounce.
Right. Because I had to pronounce clusterball a couple of times before I said it, and I still may not be saying it right. Therefore, I wouldn't put it in my water or whatever you do. I don't know what they do. I don't know if they shoot it up with a needle or what. Pardon me for not being a clusterball expert. But no, Dee Gordon, you've messed up, man. You can't do this and knock off a good thing that you've had going. Being the reigning batting champion and being one of the better players in the National League. Go ahead, Willie.
And being mentioned with, the likes of Jackie Robinson. I mean, come on. Let's not get it twisted. We don't know exactly if it was for him to bulk up. I mean, this is the thing about PEDs, and I said this back during the whole Alex Rodriguez fiasco. These PEDs are not used primarily to bulk up. I mean, when you look at Gordon, he's 5'11", but he's only 175 pounds. He's gained 30 pounds in the last 30 years. Now, can that be said that that's attributed or directly or indirectly attributed to his PED use? We will never know.
Wait, 30 pounds in how many years?
In the last 3 years.
Oh, okay. I thought you said 30 years. Okay.
Oh, yeah. A whole 1 pound per year, huh?
Right.
No, but when he came into the majors, he was only 140 pounds. So,
yeah.
He's not like Giancarlo Stanton or any of these big hulking guys that you would expect that hits a ton of home runs. I mean, and this is the point that I'm trying to make, is that these substances aid a whole bunch in you recovering, whether it's from injury, whether it's from working out, whether it's from just the grind of 162 game baseball season 6 months out of the year. So he is one of the fastest players in the major leagues. I think his Twitter handle actually has Flash Gordon in it.
Yeah, he's the son of former Major League pitcher Tom Flash Gordon, as his dad was called during his playing days.
Right. He's Flash Jr.
Yeah, more like... No, I'm not even going to go there.
Too late, man. Go there. Too late. You already did.
No, I was just going to say more like Needle Flash or GNC Flash. I don't know, man. Performance-enhancing drugs? I mean, for what? And I know, look, it's difficult. Baseball is a very, very difficult sport to play. seeing the ball coming out of the pitcher's hands and getting up and down the bases. And I mean, it's a 162 game season. You know, it lasts seemingly for like 7-8 months. You know, I don't know, man. I'm just kind of at a loss for it.
And when you look at it, it is about 8 months because they report the spring training in February. And if you're fortunate enough to make it all the way to the World Series, you're playing into November. So these guys only had 3 months off.
Yeah.
You know, but, you know, and another thing, too, we need to really point out is that this isn't a test that just took place last week.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the report is that he actually was busted in spring training. But with the appeals process and the sample testing and the sample A and the sample B, it actually came out that he actually dropped the appeal.
Right. Hey, when you ain't going to win it, you're just not going to win, you know. So, Dee Gordon, 80-game ban without pay.
Yeah, without pay.
Without pay. He will be eligible to return at the end of July. July the 29th, if I'm not mistaken. So,
depending on where the Marlins are at that time, I mean, if they're still in the thick of it, which I don't think any one of us really expect, but you never know, they will have plenty enough time in order to make some ground up. He just, unfortunately for the team and for himself, won't be able to play in the postseason. I think you have something on that, don't you?
Yeah, just go over the rule here real quick. As far as suspensions, any player who is suspended for a violation of Section 7A, 7E, 7F, and 7G2, this is from the Major League Baseball drug policy from 2015, involving a performance-enhancing substance shall be barred from participating in the postseason, including without limitation being in uniform during his club's postseason games during the season in which his suspension commenced, even after completion of his suspension. So yes, he'll be able to return this season, but no, he won't be able to play when it comes to October baseball. All right, so we'll see what happens with the Marlins going these 80 games without one of their better players. Dee Gordon, 80-game suspension. Without pay.
Without pay.
Without pay. All right, Willie, we've got about 2.5 minutes left in the opening segment here. Let's put on our hashtag rally caps and recap some of the important stats, games, series, what have you, that have taken place over the past week. What's your rally cap?
The Southside Boys, as I mentioned in the hashtag Brothers of Baseball show last week, Chicago White Sox are on fire. How about them going to Toronto and sweeping the defending AL East champions? During the 3 games, the Jays only managed 6 runs. That lineup managed only 6 runs. However, they were dominated by Chris Sale in the second game, ran his record to 5-0, went strong, 8 strong innings, only allowed 1 earned run. Oh, by the way, that actually lowered his ERA to 1.66 with 6 Ks. Unbelievable, and that's sick.
Yeah, Chris Sale, man, definitely a dominant pitcher right now for the Chi Sox. All right, there was a game on Wednesday, the 27th. San Francisco picked up a 13-9 win over their NL West brethren from Southern California from the San Diego Padres. Brandon Belt was 3 for 4. He had 5 RBIs, 2 extra base hits, 1 triple, 1 double, scored 2 runs. Giants pitcher Jeff Samardzija ran his record to 3-1 despite a shaky start. Gave up 5 runs in the start. But as mentioned last week by the Woester, Dwayne Sutton, and Dwayne, I appreciate you filling in for me last week. The Giants pitching, it's a problem right now with that staff they have. Kane, Peavy, Bumgarner, Samardzija, Cueto, they're not winning games and being the dominant staff that we thought that they may be to start the season. So That's my rally cap from this past week. Willie, we're going to shut it down here for segment 1 here in just a second. But before we do, once again, I want to thank you, Willie and Dwayne, for filling in for me last week. And you guys had a great show doing the Brothers of Baseball. I was under the weather. You know, Mother Nature, Father Time. I'm getting a little bit up there in years. Mother Nature and Father Time, they are undefeated.
They are.
All right. We're going to take our first time out here on the Brothers of Baseball, and we'll be back to discuss more here on the Big Game Christian Sports Network right after this.
Because Wendy switched to Geico and saved hundreds of dollars on car insurance, her vacation savings jar wants to pat her on the back. But it can't. It's a vacation savings jar. It doesn't have a palm to pat with. Even if it tried, it'd just spill change everywhere and make a mess. Switch to Geico, and every time you see the extra cash, you'll know your vacation savings jar wants to pat you on the back. But remember, it can't. It's a jar. It is, however, happy that you're saving money.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
We welcome you back to the hashtag Brothers of Baseball here on the official. Yes, he said official. Broadcast station of the Dallas Charge Pro Fast Pitch Softball on the Big Game Christian Sports Network. And, as always, this edition of the Brothers of Baseball is being brought to you by PureFlix. Enjoy faith and family movies, TV shows, and educational programs anytime, anywhere, for only $7.99 per month. Sign up for your 30-day free trial by going to bgcsports.net or on the BGC Sports app and click on the PureFlix banner. Start your free trial today. All right. Willie.
Need to do that, man. Need to do that.
Yes, pronto. Or ahora, as we say in Espanol.
Andale.
Goodbye.
That would be adios.
Baseball has been very, very good to us.
All right, we need to get on with it.
We do need to get on with it.
Excuse me.
We start up segment 2 here, and this is where Willie and I, you remember that song by Snap back in the day? I've got the power.
Yes, sir.
We've got the power. It is time for our power rankings. Willie's going to tackle the American League. Donnie is going to tackle the National League. It's our top 5 teams in each league. So we'll just kind of give them to you all here. Willie, I'm not sure if you want to go 1 to 5, 5 to 1, but it's on you, man.
I am going to go 5 to 1. I don't know. It's just something about going in that order to leave the suspense for the best for last. Anyway.
Gotcha.
Number 5, American League, Boston Red Sox. The Bo Sox have closed the gap on the O's after their hot start. David Price still struggling with his over 7 ERA. The offense has been carrying the Red Sox earlier on in the season. Number 4, Texas Rangers. Congratulations, Arlington, Texas, Dallas, Texas, Fort Worth, and surrounding areas. Texas Rangers make it in here as this week's version of the AL team in the power rankings because the rest of the division is just flat out deplorable.
Yes.
Number 3, Kansas City Royals. And you would be ready to slap me if I tell you that I was about to say the Kansas City Chiefs. But anyway, the Kansas City Royals, I'm still going to give them their just due as the defending world champs and the 2-time AL pennant winner. Number 2, Baltimore Orioles. They're still there, still leading the AL East. They have a sparkling 10-4 road record. Very impressive. And number 1, Chicago White Sox coming in again at the top, leading the AL Central by 3 games as of Friday. They're on fire. They have won 8 of their last 10, and I'll get into more of them later on in the show.
Indeed. Yeah, we'll have a discussion about the second city coming up in just a little while here.
The second city?
the second city.
Okay.
As they sometimes call themselves. Anyway, we'll get more into it.
Yeah.
Let me ask you something about the Red Sox real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I know Hanley Ramirez is playing first base now.
Yes.
You got any thoughts on how he's doing with that position change?
It's a position of transition. He's helping lead the charge. He's helping to lead the charge on the offensive end. I mean, with him and Big Papi and Pedroia, the pitching is a little suspect, or a lot of suspect now. Now they gave all that money to Price. But again, it's still early, so we'll see how it all shakes out.
Okay, and as I mentioned on our preview show, look, I know David Price is a good pitcher and all, but he's playing his home games in Fenway, and left-handed batters are going to be taking aim at the Green Monster. All right, National League, here we go. I'm gonna start 5-1. Yeah, we'll go 5-1 here. St. Louis Cardinals. They recently had a trip out to Chase Field in Arizona, and they took 3 or 4 from the Diamondbacks. The Pittsburgh Pirates come in at number 4. They have won 4 straight coming into the weekend. Number 3, the Washington Nationals. They suffered a sweep at the hands of a team. I'll mention who that was here in just a second. The New York Mets have ascended to number 2. 6 straight wins coming into the weekend, and they did a lot of that without Yoenis Cespedes. And, of course, number 1, Chicago. Pitching, fielding, green ivy at Wrigley. I mean, they've got it all working right now on the north side. So, again, let's go 5-1 Cardinals, Pirates, Nationals, Mets, Cubs. And all 5 of my teams are either from the NL Central or the NL East. So, there you go. Willie, go ahead. I know you got something you want to add in there.
No, I was going to ask you a question about the Mets, because you're right, man. They are on a tear. The Nationals are coming off of a 3-game sweep. They've got a big series coming up, they being the Nationals. They've got a big series coming up next week that I'll touch on here later on in the show. What do you think about that pitching rotation for the Mets with DeGrom and Syndergaard and
Matt Harvey?
Matt Harvey, yes.
Yeah. And don't forget, I mean, I know he's a veteran. He's up there in age now. But don't forget about Bartolo Colon.
Bartolo.
Right. Don't forget about Bartolo. He's a key cog in that. Mets have a good rotation, man. You throw 3 young guys out there in a series, you get them boom, 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 back to back to back, and chances are you can come out of there losing 2 or 3, or being swept.
I got a question for you, though. Sorry.
Yeah.
How old is Bartolo Colon? He's got to be about 58, 59.
Man, somebody called me last week, said, man, I'm at Bartolo Colon's birthday party. Man, they fit 96 candles on this man. Hey, look. Hey, on the Big Game Christian Sports Network, Brothers of Baseball, this is just what we do. We have fun. So, hey,
And we crack on people.
Right. Exactly. All right, Willie, let's see what the time is like here. Yeah, let's get moving on to those teams that we didn't name in the top 5, kind of out of that top 5. We like to call this, in the words of Harry Doyle from Major League, just
a bit outside.
Who do you have in the American League that's just a bit outside?
This is in no particular order. I've got Cleveland, I've got Seattle, and I've got Detroit. Seattle just took 2 of 3 from the Houston Astros, something else that I will touch on here in just a second. Detroit is still hanging around. They were once kings of the AL Central. And Cleveland made a push a couple of years ago with Corey Kluber winning the Cy Young in the American League a couple of years ago. They're in the thick of things, too, right now. So those are my 3 right there.
All right. I've only got a couple. man, I mean, it's a lot of parity, I guess you could say, if you're not the Chicago Cubs in the National League. Just a bit outside, I've got the Philadelphia Phillies. Mm-hmm. Who would have thought it? The Fighting Phils coming into the weekend with a 12-10 record. They are that team that I mentioned earlier, who the Nationals were swept by. Philadelphia took 3 straight from the Nats this week. And then I've got Arizona, still just on the outside there. They had gotten hot. They took 4 from San Francisco a couple of weeks back, but then they lost 3 of 4 to the St. Louis Cardinals this past week. All right. Willie, let's do this, man. If you have your top 5 for the majors, let's go ahead and get those in.
Well, I'm going to go from 1 to 5 on this one.
Okay.
Chicago Cubs.
Mm-hmm.
Chicago White Sox.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting that those are the top 2, as something we would discuss later on in the show. I also have coming in at number 3, the Baltimore Orioles.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go ahead and continue to give the champs their just due. Kansas City. I'm sorry. Let me go back. Number 3, I'm going to go with the Washington Nationals.
Okay.
And then I'm going to go with the Baltimore Orioles, and then I'm going to go with the Kansas City Royals.
Okay, so you've got Cubs, White Sox, then it's Nationals, Orioles, Royals?
Yes.
Okay. I went Cubs, White Sox, Orioles in my top 3. I like what Baltimore is doing in that AL East. And that's a tough division. Everybody seems to hit the ball, maybe with the exception of Tampa there a little bit.
And Toronto here lately.
Yeah, here lately. But Toronto, you give them a couple of bad pitches and they'll be right back in it.
You're right about that.
Yeah. Then I've got the Mets and the Nationals to round out my top 5. So 3 out of my 5 are National League teams. So there you had 3 of your 5 being American League teams.
How coincidental is that?
Hey, well, I mean, I'm the National League guy, or the un-American guy, and you're the American League guy.
He said, outside. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever. All right, so we mentioned Chicago here throughout this broadcast so far, and we're going to finish up, or I should say continue on here a little bit more talking about Chicago and what we're going to call Windy City Wishing. Great early starts for both of these teams. White Sox leading the AL Central coming into the weekend. The Cubs have the best record in baseball coming into the weekend. If the season ended today, of course.
Of course,
right. Those teams would have the home field advantage throughout their respective leagues and would have the ticket to the World Series. So we're going to just wish. Because, around here, the Brothers of Baseball, you know what we do? We don't hope. We don't dream. We wish.
Okay.
We wish. So we're going to do some Windy City wishing. If these 2 teams, the Cubs and White Sox, make it to the World Series, what will it do for the city of Chicago? What will it do for Major League Baseball? Willie Epting, the mic is on you.
What that would do if that happened for the city of Chicago, they would be like Chicago Bears, really? Chicago Bulls, they didn't even make the playoffs this year. Chicago Blackhawks would have some conversation because they have dominated hockey up until this year, winning a couple of Stanley Cups. But for real talk, for the entire sport of baseball, Chicago, they love their Cubs. The White Sox have pretty much always been the little brother of that city, even though they are the team that has won a championship more recent, back in 2005 when they beat up on the Houston Astros.
Uh-huh.
So you called it the second city. I call it the third city because they have the 3rd highest population in the United States. They may actually bring people there to move, because if that took place, can you imagine things from a business standpoint, what that would do?
Right.
The White Sox, let me just go into some stats with the White Sox. Chris Sale, the aforementioned Chris Sale, and Matt Latos, they are combined 9-0. They have a combined ERA 1.20. Are you kidding me? Along with 45 strikeouts. Oh, and you cannot forget about Jose Quintana, who has also a 3-1 record with a 1.47 ERA and 32 strikeouts. I know, right? How are these guys getting hit, man? Seriously.
That's filthy. That's all it is, man. That's just straight up filthy. You're not getting much off of them, right?
No, I mean, look at it. 1.47 and 1.2. I mean, between three guys, that is 77 strikeouts. And they are 12-1.
Man, we talked about the Mets rotation earlier. Shoot, you run into those dudes, man. If you're unfortunate enough, I guess we'll say, to have to meet them in a 3-game set, or get 3 of them in a 4-game set. Oh man, you got some trouble.
Yeah, I mean, we knew
coming your way.
We knew about Chris Sale, but Latos and Quintana, man, they just, oh my goodness.
Yeah, and Latos came in the offseason along with another player that I'll talk about for the White Sox here in just a minute. But yeah, man, it definitely, we hear about the Cubs all the time, especially that rivalry with the St. Louis Cardinals. The lovable losers, as they're called. But yeah, as you mentioned with the White Sox, they did win a championship a few years ago. But even since then, man, things haven't been the best up there for the South Side gang up in Chicago.
And then you think about all of the story with, Adam LaRoche and him having his son in the locker room,
right? All
those times, and they just swept that under the rug. Winning cures everything, man.
Right. It's almost like because a lot of the White Sox players seemingly were upset about how that all played out. It seems like they it lit a fire under them to not take the game for granted. And so far, they've shown an attitude of, hey, let's go get this.
Man, you might be able to say that their team MVP is Adam LaRoche's son.
Right. Who is this kid?
Holy Christmas.
All right. My thoughts on it, man. They say some people call it Chicago as the second city. One of the few cities with the 2 baseball teams. It would turn Chicago into the sports capital of the world to see these 2 teams play against each other in a World Series for just a few days during that series. But baseball, here's what gets it for me. Baseball would have a flag to fly in the Midwestern part of the country because outside of St. Louis, over the last 20 years, we haven't heard too much from the teams, primarily in the Midwest. Of course, Kansas City did win the championship this past year. But St. Louis has kind of carried the banner for the Midwestern part of the country for the last 20 years, winning their world championships and getting to the playoffs year after year after year after year. For the Cubs, as far as on the field, too, we've talked about all the expectations that we have for Chicago, how we think they're going to do this season with their big-time lineup and the spectacular pitching that they have. But, hey, Chicago White Sox, they're the biggest surprise in baseball to this point. And I mentioned another player that came in with Latos in the offseason. The addition of the Todd father, Todd Frazier, has been an immense pickup for Robin Ventura's Pale Hole squad. So, we'll see how it plays out. We got a lot of time left before we get to the World Series. But it's a great story to talk about right now. The 2 Chicago teams running things in Major League Baseball. Willie?
Here.
We're going to get ready and go to our second break. But when we come back, we're going to flip the calendar and take a look into the future. We'll also wrap things up here on this edition of the Brothers of Baseball on the Big Game Christian Sports Network. We're going to step out the batter's box and take this time out and be back right after this.
Just a bit outside. The following was recorded at a Burger King drive-thru at breakfast.
Morning, welcome to Burger King.
Can I get a sausage, egg, and cheese croissant sandwich?
Sure can. Right now, they're 2 for $4, but could you say that word again?
Croissant sandwich?
Oh, where I'm from, we say croissant.
Wow. Where you from?
From behind this counter?
Piled high with thick-cut bacon or savory sausage, fluffy eggs, and melted cheese. Get 2 croissant breakfast sandwiches for just $4. Only at Burger King. Limited time only. Price and participation vary.
All right, we are back in the battle box here for the last 3 innings here of the Brothers of Baseball here on the official broadcast station of the Dallas Charge Pro Fast Pitch Softball on the Big Game Christian Sports Network. And as a friendly reminder, this edition of the Brothers of Baseball is being brought to you by PureFlix. Enjoy faith and family movies, TV shows, and educational programs anytime, anywhere, for only $7.99 per month. Sign up for your 30-day free trial by going to bgcsports.net or on that good BGC Sports app. Click on the PureFlix banner. Start your free trial today. All right, so as we mentioned, we're back for the final 9 outs, the last 3 innings here on the Brothers of Baseball show. Willie, we're going to look into our crystal baseball, if we will.
Yes.
And go look at some of the games that are upcoming with the next week. If you got AL, NL that you want to discuss, the floor is yours. What do you have, man?
Well, excuse me. I actually have 2 series that I want to discuss. One a little bit more detailed than the other, and you might actually have one of these yourself. But I'm going to go...
Oh, sorry.
I'm going to go with a potential World Series preview that's going to take place in the heartland at Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City, featuring the world champs / 2-time AL pennant winners, Kansas City Royals, versus the Dusty Baker-led Washington Nationals. 3-game set beginning on Monday. The Nationals will throw in the first game Gio Gonzalez. The Royals will throw Edison Volquez. The second game will feature a pitching matchup of Rourke versus Young. And rounding out the series will be Mr. Steven Strasburg versus Mr. Median. Mr. Medlin. Where did I get that from?
Median.
Yeah, I know, right? So Kansas City is currently second behind the White Sox in AL Central. I can't help but to believe that they're going to put it together before it's all said and done. As we mentioned before, the Nationals, they have lost 3 in a row to the Fighting Phillies, as you mentioned, Donnie. They are still, in my opinion, the more talented team in that division, or the most talented team in that division. The Mets. I mean, you remember when the Mets had that lead? I'm sorry, the Nationals had that lead on the Mets last year, and they just seemingly came out of nowhere. Wouldn't it be interesting to see if that actually happened again? I mean, think about it. But, the Nationals come in with Gonzalez, as I mentioned, Strasburg, as I mentioned. They also have Scherzer that they can throw. They have the rated R superstar and Jason Worth. Of course, the reigning NL MVP in Bryce Harper, who is actually putting up more ridiculous numbers at this point of the season than he did last. Yes, sir. And I love and I mentioned this in the last week's show, Donnie. I love what he is doing with trying to bring more FUN to the game of baseball. A lot of people are looking at him with one eye because they're like, who is this kid? But he's proven, man, that he has played to the potential that he came out with as a top prospect, himself and Mike Trout. So I am very much looking forward to that series and seeing how it's going to shake out in the heartland in Missouri.
Yeah, as the Wolster would say on the End Zone Sports Show that we're a part of on the BGC Sports Network, Dwayne would say, I like the boy.
Yes.
But yeah, kudos to Bryce Harper on his one-man campaign to make baseball fun again.
And I actually don't think it's a one-man campaign anymore. I mean, people are starting to latch on to this. I mean, if you even think about it from this standpoint, even the so-called experts in the media are even changing their tune. I mean, I'm talking about the old school writers, with the bat flips and all of that stuff. I don't see it being a problem. Now they're saying that as long as it's not a first inning home run or a strikeout that occurs in the second inning with nobody out and it's the first out of the inning. But, before it was, oh, no, we can't have that in baseball. And so, we'll see.
Yeah. All right. You mentioned that you may have had another series that you're kind of closely looking at, too.
Yeah, just a little bit of not on a scale of the series I just mentioned, but I'm talking about the Yankees going to Baltimore. The Yankees are still right there. The O's started out the season 7-0. They were the first team to do that in quite some time. I can't remember the exact year, but it's been quite some time. They have fallen back a little bit of late. The O's are one of the better hitting teams in the American League. So they are playing a midweek 3-game set at Camden Yards in the Inner Harbor in Baltimore, Maryland.
In the United States of America, in North America, anyway.
On planet Earth.
Right. All that.
Yes.
Anyway, we digress. All right. No, that's great insight there from you, man. I've got a couple of series I've got my eye on in the National League here, especially Monday through Wednesday. Excuse me. The NL Central takes center stage in my eyes regarding a series that's going to go down between the Cubs and the Pirates. The Pirates are playing some good baseball as of late. They even made it into my power rankings for the week. Mr. Andrew McCutchen is coming around. Pedro Alvarez is also doing his thing up there in Pittsburgh. Tuesday's game, man, check this out. You've got Jake Arrieta, 5-0. I think he just gave up his first run at home since the Bill Clinton era of the United States of America or something like that earlier this past week. Jake Arrieta is 5-0, and he'll be matched up against Jonathan Neese of the Pirates, who's 3-0. That's a Tuesday night game. First pitch is at 7:05 Eastern Time. This series takes place, like I said, Monday through Wednesday. Wednesday's game being a 12:35 first pitch, and these three games will be in PNC Park near the Three Rivers in Pittsburgh, PA.
The Confluence.
Yes, the Confluenza, or no, I'm sorry. What you say, Confluence?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite stadiums in all of Major League Baseball.
Yeah, we should go there one day. We should go there and take pictures and row in a boat outside the stadium. I'm just going to walk. Never mind.
In the Zone has a vision regarding that I'll discuss in the final thoughts.
All right. The other series that I wanted to touch on, man, you mentioned the Nationals are in Kansas City to face the Royals for a 3-game set. How about going from Kansas City, facing the defending world champions? You go from Kansas City to Chicago to face the best team in Major League Baseball right now, the Chicago Cubs. And that's a 4-game set, which starts on Thursday, goes Thursday to Sunday. Wow.
That could potentially be very ugly for the Nats.
Or it could be very promising for them, too.
Yeah, like RG3 said, no pressure, no diamonds.
Who?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, bye. No, seriously. You've got all kind of star power. You got Chris Bryant. You've got Anthony Rizzo. Willie mentioned the Bryce Hoppers of the world, the Jason Worths of the world. Mr. Murphy came over from the Mets. He's fitting in quite nicely there in Washington with Dusty Baker's bunch. And you know what, man? Dusty Baker, I've always been a big fan of his. He may not have necessarily managed any of the teams that I like or, whoever I try to root for. But Dusty Baker, man, I just like him. He has a great spirit when it comes to baseball. Whether he's been on the field managing or even his time at ESPN when he was an analyst there.
He was a heck of a player too.
Yeah, like I said, we're not going to show ages and things like that. Like we mentioned on the prior In the Zone sports show. But yeah, Dusty, from what I hear, especially from you, he was a great player. But not to tell your age or anything, We're not going to count how many candles were on your cake in February.
In the illustrious words of our hashtag brother of blog, the Wolster. Oh, Lord.
Oh, boy.
I need to leave that to him.
Yeah. Yeah, we going to say try again on that one, man. We going to say try again on that one.
That's why we're a team, and everybody can't do every job.
Right. But, yeah, you definitely don't need to do that one no more.
Okay. You're right.
All right. So that's what we're looking forward to for next week. We're going to also take a little bit of a bite from the In the Zone sports show that we do here on the Big Game Christian Sports Network. Whenever we're talking about any of our favorite teams, we like to call each other on three, Willie. 1, 2, 3.
Homer.
And we're not talking about home runs, but basically the affinity for the teams that we have professed our undying love for, or whatever.
But we'll die rooting for them.
Yeah, exactly.
With the way that they're playing.
Well, you maybe not as bad as me, so we'll see what happens. But let's talk about your favorite team, the Oakland Athletics. Just kind of talk about what's going on so far this season with them.
Man, it's Jekyll and Hyde or Jekyll and Hyde or Jekyll and whatever. They have been a model of inconsistency this early part of this year. Only have scored 81 runs. That's tied for 21st in the majors. Batting average of .235. That's 23rd best in the league, or if you want to say it, 9th worst. 24th in slugging percentage, 29th in on base percentage. Bottom line is my boys cannot hit. They can't get on base. They can't score any runs. They can't hit for average. They can't hit for power. They just can't hit. 11 and 12 on the season. Now let me give you some scores.
Okay.
Because this is the inconsistency that I was talking about. Okay, so you swept the Mariners at Seattle 3-2, 6-1, and then 2-1. Then you proceed to go back home and you play the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim and you get swept at home. And then you go to Kansas City. You go home. You stay home and you play Kansas City. By the way, the defending champions and the two-time AL MVP pennant winners. You take 2 of 3 from Kansas City. So then you go from Oakland to New York, and guess what you do? You sweep the Yankees. Then you go north of the border. Hashtag We Are the North, Toronto. You take the opening game of that set, but then you lose 3 in a row. Then you take the opening game against the Tigers, and you lose 2 in a row. So it's like my blood pressure is fluctuating, rooting for this team. The thing that we were once most known for, which was the pitching, has kept the A's around as much as possible. But, man, the Achilles heel is swinging the sticks. Jed Lowry, he's batting .325, but he's the only one that's really doing anything. Marcus Semien, 5 home runs, 9 RBIs. Are you serious? He has a batting average of only .192. Yeah, exactly. Earned run average, Rich Hill, 2.42. That's a good number there. He's also leading the team in wins with 3, as well as strikeouts with 37. So we just need to clone that guy and let him go every 5th day, or every day for that matter.
Right. Well, it's only going to take me about 20 seconds as we're winding down here on the Brothers of Baseball. The Atlanta Braves, 5-18, 10 games out of first place. In their last 10 games, they're 1-9. At home, 1-12. They went basically a 2-week stretch without hitting a home run. A.J. Pierzynski has been dropping foul balls and fly balls and having all kind of yips as a catcher. Man, I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say. Willie, that's all I'm going to say about that. But, Willie, we only got a couple of seconds here left, man, in the episode here. Once again, just want to say thank you, man, for coming on and doing this with us. And, hey, we're the Brothers of Baseball. This is what we love, right?
This is what we love. My favorite sport. People don't know that.
That's right. All right. So, baseball fans, it's been great to talk to you. We will catch up again with you next week. That's the end of the game. And that has been the latest edition of the Brothers of Baseball here on the Big Game Christian Sports Network. We'll talk to you later on.